Yeah, time. It's like it accelerates, gets faster.
And I get
all the time.
frustrated sometimes. I try to remember like when my son was like born or like
Yeah.
and sometimes I'm like, man, I can't remember too much. And then I remember like sprinkled things here and there. And then now I look at him and I'm just like, God, he's 8 years old now. That's crazy.
Yeah, it goes by fast, man.
I can only imagine how you feel.
Funny in a speech once, I remember George Bush saying that the days are long,
Yeah.
but the years are short.
Dang, that's real.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Dang.
And so I think back to what I was doing, like when Texas Weapon Systems first started up, the machine shop we had running. I was telling you about some of that earlier.
Yeah.
When we used to do commercial manufacturing before we ever got into the gun business and whatnot, and it just goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And here now, I find myself in this curious position where like the three oldest guys in the business is Mark Krebs, Jim Fuller, and me.
Yep.
And it's like, how weird is that crap?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that you say that. Kind of put something in perspective for me. I was sitting down the other day, and I was like, I really don't have a plan B.
Welcome to my world, brother.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
Well, it's just that when plan A is so damn good, you don't need no stinking plan B.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I've been at this since I'm 24, 25. I'm 34 now. I was like thinking to myself, I was like, man, if I just stopped doing this for whatever reason, what would I go do?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah.
So,
Well-
so surprisingly,
Yeah.
in that time frame, you've developed so many manufacturing skills.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so wild. Like,
Yeah.
like the growth and everything that I've learned, and the stuff I'll continue to learn too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. And, not that I want a plan B. Plan A is going to work. I know that because
Mm-hmm.
there's no quit in me, but that's kind of crazy. I was just like thinking.
So I was in that same situation, right? In 2008, when the economy crashed, we had seen it like 6 months before, right? As a manufacturer, as a contract manufacturer at the time, we were supplying, I was telling you about this earlier, I think,
Right.
the electrical distribution industry with all kinds of hardware and componentry and things.
Right.
And somewhere kind of late 2007, it just suddenly stopped. All the purchase orders, they just stopped. That would come in, since I was a production shop. It wasn't like these prototype shops, say, hey, how much to make, 5 of these or 10 of those? No, I made 10,000 of these or 50,000 of those and
Right.
things like that. And so we had these long-standing contracts where we would get kind of a blanket PO for the year, and it would be an approximate quantity of, say, 2 million units. And we're knocking these things out, and weekly we get these purchase orders, 50,000 of that, 10,000 of the other thing, 9,000 of those. And then suddenly this one week, no purchase orders come. And then the following week, the purchase orders came,
Right.
but they were a third smaller. And then the week after that, they didn't come. The following week, they came, and they were only half as big as normal. And so in real short order, they just went down. And in a matter of about, I would say some 3 months or so,
Yeah.
business dropped by 60%.
That's wild.
And on the news, on the business news shows and all this, the talking heads are all, oh, the economy is great, growth is robust. The Fed predicts continued robustness for blah blah blah, and housing starts are fantastic. The world is rosy, and I'm thinking, what's going on with us? And then I talked to other machine shop owners here in the Central Texas area, guys that I know, and they're telling me, yeah, they're slow too. What's going on? And so like all of my customers in maybe the 5 different industries that I served,
Right.
they were all slow. And then it was like 6 months into this whole thing when the news shows start saying, the Fed's indicating there appears to be signs of softening in the economy. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, motherfucker.
What don't you think?
Starting to show signs?
Right.
You kidding?
saw
We
this
fell off
6
a
months
cliff
ago.
6 months
Yeah,
ago.
right, right.
Yeah, why don't you come talk to me? And
It's like, damn, we should have been shorting things back then.
Yeah, no kidding. And my fallback to, so your plan B, you don't have a plan B. You have options. So my plan B, I never thought I'd be getting into the gun business,
Right.
but I had a particular skill set, right? So I had these skills that were useful, design skills that were useful, and this at the time little bitty machine shop with one CNC machine,
Right.
and this collection of some manual machines, all this antique machinery I was running practically.
Right.
And it took a while to figure out, but here I was monkeying around with this AK-47, and I shifted in that direction. I didn't completely abandon the other stuff.
Right.
And then the rifle thing started taking off because that's when the assault weapons ban ended and the Heller versus DC case, and the whole assault rifle thing just kind of took off, right? Okay. And
Yeah, there is no plan B. This is the plan B.
This is the plan.
and so it's a matter of, if something were to happen where Second Amendment gets
Right.
voted away out of the Constitution.
I have thought about that too.
Okay. What would you do? Well, you've got an amazing skill set and attention to detail and a work ethic that will serve you well in anything you do in the future.
But with that being said, I've also thought about, like, if there was like a ban,
Yeah.
I'm always like, well, they can't ban everything.
No, they can't.
It'd
They
be like a
can't,
soft ban,
Mm-hmm.
So I've taught myself how to build these in like those hunter conversions,
Mm-hmm.
where they take like the Sega stocks,
Yeah, you take the Sega Sporter that got desported and you resporter it.
There you go. So I know how to do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And every Sega that I do, I save the trigger components.
Mm-hmm.
I don't throw them away
Yeah.
for that reason, just for the fear of like that if that was to ever happen.
That's a curious outlook. Yeah. I look at it different. As long as I've got raw materials and machines,
Yeah.
I don't need an armory because I could whip one up that fast, right?
Well, I'll save all the pieces to send to you so you can cat them up, and then I'll get those parts.
I had this buddy in here the other day, and he
Oh, yeah.
he was back here. He said something about having guns and all this kind of stuff, and I'm looking for a gun, and I don't have a complete rifle anywhere that I can put it into his hands to check it. And I said, dude, I'm sorry, I don't have any guns. I got gun parts everywhere, but I have no guns.
Yeah,
And so-
for the viewers out there, I just want to point out that rifle there with the suppressor is my personal rifle that I brought from home because that's the only one in the whole business that ever stays put together. And on that note, I want to welcome you all to this first episode of the Texas Weapon Systems podcast. I don't think this is going to be like a normal podcast in the sense that we've got an episode that sort of regularly comes out on a fixed schedule, like once a week or every other week, just because if we're putting out an episode, it's because we're having a conversation that I think is valuable to you all as the viewers, and I want to make sure that if we're putting something out, it's something that's useful for y'all. I don't want to just shill out content just for the sake of it, but I
So
think,
how about introductions? So I'll introduce yourself and then us.
yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
And so on that note, I am Nelson Jr. I am joined by my co-host and father, Nelson Sr., who is the president and head engineer of the company and the brains behind this whole operation. And our guest today on this first inaugural episode of the Texas Weapon Systems podcast
Huge honor, by the way.
is Mario Parada of SOF Defense.
Yes, sir.
So
Yep. Custom shop, boutique shop that builds AK-47s out of Phoenix, Arizona.
some of the best in the world, if you ask me.
Been
Agreed.
using Texas
Agreed.
Weapon Systems product since the beginning, not only of the SOF, defense days, but just my journey of purchasing, AK rifles. My first one was an AK-74. It was an AK-74.
You remember
And
which AK-74?
It was the Bulgarian import that Sentry used to bring in.
Okay.
They used to call it the Wasser 2 or something like that.
Okay.
So that was like my first ever AK purchase. I was 18 years old. Went on Backpage. I don't know if you guys had a Backpage here in California, or sorry, in Texas or not, but
We did, although I I hardly ever used it. I don't think you ever. I don't know if you ever
No,
used it.
well, yeah, it was like you would buy, sell, trade guns on there, or whatever.
Yeah.
Went on there, looked it up, bought it, took it home, and I'm like, I want to do something cool to this, you know? Go to YouTube, type in, AK stuff. Jim Fuller pops up, and then so I'm like, I want to do what that guy does, you know? Start seeing some of his stuff, and I'm like, man, I want that dust cover that he has, you know? And
Oh, he was running one of mine?
yeah.
All right.
So that's kind of how, like, I came across the Texas weapon system stuff. I mean, Nelson was probably still in diapers. I mean, by that, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
What year was that?
That had to have been, let's see, graduated like 11, like 2011.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Oh, that was the early days of the Gen 2 dust cover.
Yeah, I was like a sophomore in high school at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just like I don't know, just kind of seeing all that, and they're kind of in the growth of everything. And then I just remember that first Vickers video that came out.
The Alpha AK video.
When we were introduced to the Zynico stuff, but then at the same time we were like, wait, why are these Russian soldiers not running Zynico stuff? And it was like they were running the TWS stuff.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then working my way up to being at the Lee Armory shop days, and then coming here and meeting you guys, and then from there just kind of like, every year, just hanging out, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, SHOT Show.
Yeah.
I mean, your pops had a good time at SHOT Show. And, I mean, it's almost surreal to me. You're such a fan of certain people, and then you get to meet them, and then you find out you have a lot of similarities, and then after that you create friendships, and then after that it's like it's pretty surreal.
Yeah. It's surprising where life takes you sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then just on top of all that, all the hard work you put in. Like you were telling me earlier about when you first started with the race car stuff, and you would stay overtime and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that was me at the shop when I first got started at the Lee Armory shop. It's like I'd clock in, clock out, and I would stay for hours on end working on my personal stuff or just trying to master my craft. And I'd be there, late. I remember, the wife would call angry, "Hey, get home," Yeah.
Yeah. Look at her.
Yeah. So just kind of cool. You hear and you start hanging out with other people that you admire, and you hear their story, and it's just kind of like, man, it's kind of it's not too different, It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're here on, what is today, April 7th?
Yeah.
It's the Monday after Kalash Bash. We've just gotten back.
Yeah.
Long weekend of shooting and demoing and hanging out. But
and months of work leading up to it, preparing for that.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, as soon as we're done here, it's dinner and off to bed.
Yeah.
It's been a couple days recuperating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in Texas since Wednesday.
Okay.
I need to get back home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been joking that I'm like part Texan now. I'm coming over here so
Honorary
much.
Texan.
Yeah.
Hey man,
seriously.
if you come over, we'll be happy to have you.
Yeah. No, man, Kalash was great. I don't know what you guys thought, because we haven't talked about it yet, but I thought it was a great event.
Yeah. No.
And then being at your guys' booth all day Saturday was just cool. Kind of watching everybody interact with your dad, and it's kind of seeing like your interactions with like customers, and it's just cool, kind of seeing like the different side of not only like you guys being at your booth and all that, but then like also like your family vibe, like you guys have your mom there, your cousins were there, your younger brother's there, and it's just like everybody just like knows their role, and like it's just I don't know, I felt like I was at home, like with my family, working at an event, so it was pretty cool.
You just made me think it's kind of because the whole family's involved in that mission, it's kind of like a Comanche war party. Everybody in the tribe knows their role.
Yeah. And then you guys had your friends from your the days that you guys were at the
from our search and rescue days.
Yeah, search and rescue days.
Oh yeah,
a couple of buddies of ours that used to be search and rescue instructors with me way back in the day.
Yeah, which they were great ROs for the
yeah
booth.
yeah. Both of them are very much lifelong shooters, and one of them actually is a pistol instructor on the side. So
yeah, it's like as soon as I placed my little shorty down, and I saw like his first interaction with the customer, I was like, oh, he got this. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, I was like, he's good.
Yeah.
Like, that was cool.
Yeah, I brought them out specifically for that. And it's nice when you like have people that you can trust with that sort of thing. Because I mean, I basically brought them out and briefed them. I'm like, here's the products, here's what you got to know, but you're ROing, so just do your thing, and they killed it.
Yeah, they did. Those guys.
This guy killed it.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do?
Dude, you
Built the whole damn company.
Exactly, yeah.
What else did you do?
I came back and there was like rifles missing, and you were like, I sold them. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, man, we need to hire you over at SOF Defense, man.
I thought I was gonna get a finger wagged at me for something.
I come back, I was like, stuff's missing from the table. I'm like, did somebody take it? Like, what happened? No, Nelson's selling stuff. I'm like, there we go. That's good.
And speaking of that, having that kind of interaction with the AK public, the AK consumer, the AK aficionado, is a revealing experience.
Yes.
Because you get some folks that just tagged along with a more experienced friend and don't know a lot. So they ask, some very simple questions, and almost like they're afraid to touch the guns on the table.
Right, yeah.
And you got to invite them, hey, go ahead and pick it up, check it out. And then there's other folks that are really dialed in.
Pick it up and they want to look at every rivet. And,
yeah, that's right. And they'll ask you, so tell me about this detail. And they really know what they're talking about.
Right.
And they're accustomed to getting, simplistic BS answers.
Right.
But when I encounter someone like that, I know I can go into that like engineer speak.
Right.
And so this happens for this reason, that reason, and the other reason, we did it for these reasons, and so on. And then it's like, and they get it. They get it. I had one guy come up that was a Vietnam era sniper.
Oh wow.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh cool.
He was competing in the match. He was dressed up in like in the Gulf Storm era desert.
Oh, like the 3-color desert.
Yeah, the 3-color blotchy desert.
Yeah.
And he's wearing his patches with his sniper tab and his unit insignia and this kind of thing. And immediately I knew that shit was real.
Yeah.
Right. And so I started talking to him about it. Yeah. And so this guy had been a sniper during the Vietnam era, came home, became a law enforcement officer.
Okay.
Worked in SWAT and whatnot. And he was so happy to come and meet us and talk to us in person, because he says, I've been running your top covers on my AK for like the last 3 to 4 years now. And these things are so spot on and dialed on. And so we got into this very technical conversation about how the AK platform is so much more capable than people realize if you know how to tune the platform.
I think I overheard this conversation.
Yeah?
I was eavesdropping. Was he the guy that was talking about his group that shrunk?
Yeah.
Okay.
That guy.
I caught a little bit of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so the platform, if what you're working with is some garage screw together build with mismatched parts from different companies. Yeah, it's a crap weapon.
Yeah, believe me, I've seen some.
But especially now with the kinds of things that we're putting together with modern manufacturing technologies and whatnot, and like these things hanging back here on the wall, they are just so much more capable. And the fact that this guy that had all of that life experience in hostile environments and spent that that career time behind that trigger, to have that guy come up and tell me, dude, this thing is spot on. Every time I put one of your covers on one of my AKs, everything, all the groups just shrink right down.
It's just cool because you like, my first experiences with this rifle was going to like a rifle match with like a whole sea of AR-15s, which the AR-15 is a great platform as well. But just me wanting to run this because, as I was explaining to Nelson, it's like I felt like I was driving a manual car. As a man, you like driving the manual car, and it just feels good. And that's how I felt about running the rifle. I felt like it was more challenging, having to learn the sights, having to learn all the mechanics, compared to I just push a button, mag falls out, put mag in, push another button, and and I'm kind of almost basically done. You know,
Sure,
like
sure.
it's just
Yeah.
felt really easy. Wanted a little bit something more challenging. So go to the rifle matches, start shooting them with AKs. At first, just bombing stages, doing awful, you know. To then kind of fine tuning the craft, finally teaching myself about ballistics
Mm-hmm.
and the 7.62 round, learning that it's a big football round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That if at, you know,
Like a slingshot.
exactly, yeah. But if at 300 yards, you know, I'm not aiming, you know, a little bit higher, and you know, I'm not gonna hit it. Like I can't just send the bullet straight to
Right.
it, you know. So,
Did you shoot a lot before you started competing?
yeah, I would say I did,
Okay.
but it was just more like go out to the desert and like just shoot,
Like
No,
Mac
not-
dumping in the trash
there
kind
you
of thing?
go.
Yeah.
like not without a purpose, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I shot my first competition and I learned the hard way that, like I said, that it was just like I had to learn about ballistics after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that tied into like preparing for matches and then competing and stuff like that. So it was like just kind of bringing a platform that wasn't known for that into that realm.
Mm-hmm.
Was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then that's what kind of took everything into what I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting like that, buying the first one, you know, throwing on a couple rails, and then at first I would run the red dots, and then that kind of got a little bit I guess you would say, boring to me. It was a little bit too easy.
Mm-hmm.
So then ripped that off and just started trying to master the irons,
Mm-hmm.
and just never looked back since. You know, always shooting iron sights, always shooting iron sights. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then,
Did you killed it running irons this weekend?
yeah, it was fun, dude.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. I had a good time.
You know, I've not had that kind of. Now, both of you guys, you know, he's relatively new to the competitive shooting,
Yeah. I've been only competing for about 6 months, but
and I've never shot competitively in a match. You know, target range and
Right.
that kind of thing. And my focus was always because I started the company in 2008.
Right.
That's when the wars in the Middle East were still raging.
Yep.
And the focus at that time, everybody always talk about, you know, the sandbox this, the sandbox X, and downrange this, and
Right.
downrange the other thing. So my focus was very much on the military sciences and military shooting. And I
Right.
studied how fire teams work, and, you know, how rifle platoons work, and
Right.
and that kind of thing. And so that's what guided my shoot training. I took bunches of tactical shooting courses with, led by veterans.
Yeah. Right.
So learn from them. Took him along on a lot of those courses.
Right. With that stuff teaches you great fundamentals.
Yeah.
You know, about
Yeah.
shooting. So I think like for myself, I did, you know, the 1Z, 2Z, like kind of fundamental classes like that, like the training courses.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the more sports aspect of shooting.
Mhm.
Like it's obviously it's, you know, it's for defense and military use and stuff like that.
Right.
But my whole thought process was like the sports side of it. It's what really drove me
Yeah.
into shooting the platform or just shooting in general.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so it was just kind of cool, you know, being able to take like a platform that was known for being a big POS
Yeah.
and taking it to a match where it was like, oh, you know, all these fine machined weapons, you know, and like and doing well, you know, and doing well, even, you know, placing in the podium in some of them. So that was like kind of it was cool. And then not out of nowhere, but like then you started seeing like different competitions pop up here and there, and then Red October, Kalash Bash, and then, you know, Cold War, and, you know, just it came out. It's just all these matches started popping up.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them now.
Right.
I think there's almost one a month now. If you like, yeah, because there's Red October, Cold War. I think there's 2 K-Cons now. There's one in the winter and one in the summer.
Yeah.
There's Kalash Bash, of course. There's AK Masters.
Right.
There's that Winter Warfare one in Minnesota, whose
Right.
name escapes me at the moment. I think there's like 10 of them.
Yeah. So it's just cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's super cool that all this is going on. So it just kind of takes you to that spot where it's like, oh man, like these things have like a place now
Yeah.
to like go compete, go have fun. You know, like it's so cool. And not only that, but then it draws like companies like you guys out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember going to like the first Kalash Bash, like, oh, I wonder if TWS is going to be here. Second, like, I wonder if they're going to be here. Then like talking to Clay, like, hey, like we need to get Texas Weapon Systems out here, you know? And then like finally, like you guys show up one year and it's just
The
like,
third
oh
year of
my
it, yeah.
God, they're here. Like, you know, so it's like, so that was just cool, you know?
It's funny you say that because we're looking, walk around like, do we fit in anywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, the extent of our like active engagement with the community was like talking to people on the phone, doing customer service stuff. It was like maybe chatting with people on the forums and whatnot, but we hadn't really gone out and participated actively in like the AK culture.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then we get there to Kalash Bash and it's like,
Everybody's
oh
in
my God, what is this?
costumes and-
There's like Chewbacca just walked by.
Yeah.
And then like,
My
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite. If you're watching, Edie Amin, when you showed up at our booth, God bless you. Love your costume, dude.
Which one? Let's see.
this dude that would always show up dressed as an African warlord.
Yeah. No,
And
did you ever see the movie? Was it the Last King of Scotland or something like that? I think it was called, with DeForest Whitaker.
I haven't seen it, but
I've
now
heard
that
of
he
it, but I've never
described-
seen it.
You've
Right.
got to see that
Okay.
movie. It's
But once he described the cosplay, I
Yeah.
remember what guy it was.
Yeah.
And so Idi Amin, this African dictator guy, and like, he was enamored of Scottish culture. But anyways, he would wear these very formal green uniforms with tons of medals that he awarded himself, for all kinds of stuff, and and his red beret and march around and whatnot. So anyways, this guy that comes out to Kalash Bash, I didn't see him here.
I was
this
looking
year.
for him. I
was
didn't see him
so
either.
Looking forward to the guy, and he fakes an Idi Amin accent, and he comes out there and you'll hip fire an AK,
Death to the rebels.
and at the end he yells "Death to the rebels."
He even had the red little. Like,
Yep, the red beret, the
that's
whole
it,
thing,
that's
the
it.
whole thing.
Yeah, the guy played that character so well. So if you're watching, God bless you. We love you. You're our favorite character out there at Kalash Bash. I hope to see you next year.
Yeah. No, it's just great, man. Like, and then seeing, like I said, the interactions in the booth, and then Senior didn't make it, but then the concert,
Yeah.
the camp at night.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother
Like
experience.
it's,
I know. I mean,
it's
for
not just a
5
match.
minutes.
Like it's a whole. It's a match and it's an expo and it's like a concert and a party all in one. It's, there's nothing like
There's
nothing
nothing
like it in
like
the
it,
whole
dude.
industry.
There's nothing like it, and it just ties everybody together too. Like where are you gonna go? Where you're gonna have like, who was next to us? PSA.
It was PSA on one side and,
then IWI
IWI on
side.
the other. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody gets along so well and supports each other.
Yeah.
It's not like the different companies are out there trying to undermine each other and whatnot.
Yeah, because a lot of people think there's a lot of bad blood in the AK industry, and you don't see it at least in the
Like,
events.
I'm not
It's
going to say there isn't any,
Right.
but it's so much less than you would think.
Yeah,
I mean, like, you'll have two companies that are selling competing products, and one company will have like a demo gun go down, and the other will come over and just help them fix it.
yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, there's at the end of the day, like there are 50 some odd million AKs in circulation in the world. Like, there's enough of the pie to go around, basically.
Seriously. Yeah. And I'm sure we. Well, I don't know. Do you think we own? Because I know as what I'm trying to say here. Us as individuals, as civilians here in the U.S., we own a high percentage of firearms in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think we own in the AK platform?
Oh, probably a small part.
See, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, as civilians here in the U.S., we own a huge amount of weapons
Overall, yeah.
overall, right?
Yeah.
But like, how many is that compared, like at least like AK platforms to the rest of the world?
Yeah, I can't imagine it's very many. I mean, there's supposedly something like 400 and change million guns in the country, but I think only like 30 or 40 million of that, like 10% roughly, is AR-15s.
Oh wow.
And I know that, like, just anecdotal, right? But AR guys outnumber us pretty
Yeah,
significantly.
10
so,
or 12 to 1 easy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if there are 40 million AR guys out there, then there are maybe 4 million AK guys out there. So
Right. Dang. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Going to a whole other country, knowing that they have more AKs than us.
We got to fix that.
Yeah,
Those are rookie numbers. We got to bump those numbers up.
Yeah, seriously. That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool to think. Not only that, but like I've always wanted to experience going overseas or doing anything like that, and seeing like those kind of rifles. But obviously, it's not something I've experienced before.
Yeah.
But I mean, for you guys, it has to be cool to know that your guys' products are like overseas in Ukraine, Russia. Like that's I was telling your dad the other day that I saw a story where Ukrainian soldiers like got some Russian soldiers, and then some of their Krinks and some of the other stuff had your guys' rails on them.
So I get a call one afternoon, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something, maybe 2 years ago by now. And a good buddy, I won't say his name, that I've known for some years. Yeah, he's a veteran of our wars in the Middle East, special forces kind of guy. Yeah, and he calls me this one afternoon. I see his number pop up on I don't know, Signal or something. I hadn't talked to the guy in ages. And hey, bro, what's going on? What's happening? He says, hey, man. He says, you never guess what? He says, I said, dude, why are you yelling at me? Oh, because we were just in a firefight. I can't hear shit. Where the fuck are you, dude? Yeah. He says, oh, I'm in Ukraine right now, and we just got into a fight with these Russian dudes, and we, wiped out their whole unit. And as we're going through their equipment looking for intel and whatnot, my lieutenant yells over at me and he says, hey, come look at this motherfucker's, rifle over here. And he says, I go check it out. And I think, son of a bitch, I know that guy. Yeah. And the lieutenant looks at me and says, you know this guy? He goes, no, not the guy. But his gun, the stuff on his gun that you're pointing out, I know the guy that makes that stuff. He's in Texas.
That's crazy.
And well, how the hell did he get it? He says, I don't know. So he calls me up. How did these guys get it? I don't know. No. I never sold it to him.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, they could come over here, send somebody from their embassy or whatever, and take it home in a diplomatic pouch, or just have some Russian guy in New Jersey mail it to wherever, and then
or battlefield pickups from
or they get it.
Yeah.
And so I get to talking with his buddy for a while. Yeah. And ask him, so tell me about your unit. Tell me what you're doing over there. He says, well, can't tell too much, but we're about so many guys, and we're doing this, mostly foreigners, mostly Americans. We got a British guy, we got a Polish guy, we got with that guy, we got the other thing. And he kind of tells me about him. And I said, are you guys running AKs or Western weapons? And he says, mostly AKs. We got a handful of these other things. Yeah. And he says, do you think we could buy some of these things from you, and maybe you give us a dealer discount or something? I said, how many guys you got? Yeah, we got this many guys. I said, don't worry about it, dude. I'm equipping you.
Nice.
And so he gave me his sister's address here in the States. I communicated with her. Yeah. Boom. Sent her enough to equip his whole unit.
Nice.
And they were over the moon with that thing. And so that's been fighting over there ever since. And
I have since seen footage of his directly from over there. Yeah. And let's just say they are using that equipment to great effect.
All right. Yeah. There you go. And the other side of that coin is that years before that, so back in 2012 or so, some news agency publishes a picture of Putin, and he's shaking hands with his special forces soldiers, kind of ceremonial.
Yeah, his FSB guys or something.
FSB guys, whatnot. And they're all rocking Western gear, right? They've got, I don't know, like EOTech. Right. Optics on their weapons, and they've got mag pull slings and buttstocks on their AKs, and they got my top covers on their AKs. Right. And here Putin is shaking hands with these guys, and they've all got all this Western gear from all the top American companies. Of course, I see that, and I immediately just like,
yeah. So for all you bozos out there that keep saying it doesn't retain zero, and the proof's in the pudding. It's over there.
Yeah. Also, I feel the need to point out this was before things kicked off in Ukraine, when we were still kind of frenemies with the Russians.
Yeah, that's right. We were still kind of frenemies, and then Vlad goes into Ukraine and fucks everything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and so
now no 7N6 for the rest of the world.
So no cheap ammo, no cheap Sagas.
According to Trump at Kalash Bash, it's coming back.
So I'll believe that when I see it.
So there was a guy impersonating Trump.
Yeah.
So he goes up on stage and he's like, they're telling him speech, and he's like, all the 505 is coming back, and it's coming back in large quantities. Everybody's like,
It's gonna be beautiful.
yeah. So they ended up winning best teen cosplay.
Okay,
that's
yeah.
pretty cool.
So the guy had it was like, he's dressed as Trump, and he had JD Vance and 2 Secret Service guys, and they're up on stage. And prior to that, they had done this competition where they were shooting kind of like cowboy style against each other, So it was these little Nerf pistols. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Trump's on stage, not actual our President Trump, but just like an actor, him.
The impersonator.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it'd be hilarious if I shoot one of these darts at him from here, because he had his ears taped. So then I grab the dart gun and I start pretending I'm gonna shoot at him, and the Secret Service guys that he had jump on top of him on stage, and everybody's just like, oh my gosh, what the heck. And then after that happened, Clay comes down and he goes, he's like, dude, did you rehearse that with him? I'm like, no, dude, I was it was just out the blues. I was like, this would be hilarious,
Did he yell fight?
Yeah, he did. So when they jumped on top of him, he came up and he was like, fight. The whole thing, dude, was I'm sure it's on video somewhere out there.
It's gotta be. It's gotta
Yeah,
be.
it
I've
has
got
to
to
be.
see that.
Yeah.
I've got to see that.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah, if there's one thing you can say about AK guys is they commit to the bit.
Yeah. And this, where else but Kalash Bash would you see such a thing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
this is amazing.
If you showed up to a competition full of AR guys and there was a dude cosplaying as a fucking Star Wars character, and then Donald Trump over here, and then another movie character over there, they'd look at us like we were crazy. We are, but
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but I've been there before. Just the guy just by himself with his AK and a sea full of AR-15s. You get crazy looks for sure.
Yep.
No, but yeah, that was a good night, and also with the shout out to the AK Peasants. That's what they call themselves. I'm not calling anybody a peasant, but they call themselves the AK Peasants. They showed up too, in large quantity of numbers. They all have the matching uniform, with the mask, and they're covering their faces.
I saw some of those guys.
Yeah, it cracks me up that they call themselves the peasants, because they show up with the highest speed, most expensive gear out of everyone there, and there's a whole platoon of them every time they show up.
I think that's maybe the running joke for them.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And it's a lot of the guys have the TWS stuff on their rifles. So
I noticed that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And they show up in the old school patrol cars, the old school SUVs, kind of like the one I have, and I was like, damn, these guys are they were rolling deep this year.
Yeah.
I was trying to get jumped in, but
Yeah, they convoyed in with half a dozen Ford Escapes, all blacked out with the undercover cops gear, the bumpers and the lights and the whole thing.
yeah, I think to the concert they showed up all together in a row, all walking together.
Wow.
Everybody was moving out their way. Yeah. I was like, can I join? Jump me in. What do I got to do? It was pretty cool to see. So then you see all the awards that they give out,
Yeah.
for cosplaying and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
I know
That's
your
right.
guys-
There's awards for that.
I know your guys' stuff went to a good person, Manuela. And
Yeah.
they're her and her husband support every AK match that's out there. So that was cool to see her win that, and you guys' RPK.
And so that was a specially built RPK version of our IK series rifle.
Yeah.
Built on one of these sharp receivers like you see back there with our whole chassis kit on it. Had an especially large barrel on the thing.
Yep.
21 inches long with machine gun style carry handle on the thing and bipod.
Yep.
Very expensive gun. Very expensive gun.
Yeah, very neat gun.
And that was, we built 2 of them, one for the giveaway and one to display on our table. And
Well, it
those,
didn't remain display for long.
yeah, and those 2 RPKs there side by side, boy, those things were a magnet for attention.
Yeah.
I mean, they really grabbed people's attention.
Yep. Yeah, I was peeking at it, and I'm like, RPK. Then I got closer, and I was just like, oh man, I was like, Nelson did it again. This is cool. That was cool. That was cool for sure.
When I told Clay about it, when we were first discussing what our contribution was going to be, it just occurred to me in a moment. It was like, hey, how about we do an RPK that's kind of like this, and he thought that would be so cool. He says,
Yeah.
I'll totally take that.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, so we were committed to that.
Yeah,
And-
it's just one of those things like with RPKs. Like, how can you go wrong? You know, it's just
Yeah.
a super large, oversized AK that just looks cool.
Yeah.
You know,
The vibes are unparalleled.
yeah, definitely.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Like unless you have like that on the table,
Yeah.
like the
Look,
RPK kind of trumps
belt fed
everything
trumps
else.
everything. Belt fed.
Yeah,
Yeah. The so that thing was out in front of our exhibit space.
yeah,
So that would catch people, on the tall tripod with the
tripod.
anti-aircraft configuration thing.
Yep.
So that draws people's attention to the booth, and then of course they kind of glance over at the table, and the first thing they see are those two big RPKs side by side, and
Yeah.
it's just straight to those things.
But it's also funny how we talked about how out of that whole table of just beautiful AKs, there is that one in the middle.
Yeah, there's a freaking bone stock underfolder, and
Yeah.
it's like half of the guns, like half of the people that came up and picked up a gun, picked up this bone stock underfolder when there are all these other gorgeous, very well equipped AKs surrounding it on both
Yeah.
sides, and it's just like, all right.
See, but that's something that I would do. Because I love just sometimes the simplicity of the rifle and like, an underfolder, a nice side folder,
Yeah.
or a nice set of wood. It's just like, because I own the majority of the AKs I own look like this. They have the rails,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But then you also remember why you fell in love with the platform.
Right.
You remember that nice smell of Cosmoline, on
Oh yeah, that's
on
right.
the kit,
That's right. That's right.
it's
Those
just
old surplus. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just kind of like it's just a little bit of a reminder of like,
Man, I haven't opened up one of those Cosmoline boxes like that in forever.
Okay, speaking of
But-
Cosmoline, so I saw when we were messing with the PKM, you had your little crank belt loader.
yeah.
When you got that, was it nice and clean, or was it slathered in Cosmoline?
It was smothered.
Oh my God! When we got ours, I have never seen something with thicker Cosmoline. Like you know the little like feed tray where you put the rounds
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
When we first got it, I was like, that looks really shallow, and then I touched it, and my finger sank into like no bullshit, a half-inch thick layer of Cosmoline. I just scraped it out. I was like, oh my God.
Well, it sprinkled a little bit while we were out there, right?
Yeah.
So then it got a little bit wet, and then on the next day on Sunday when I went to go use it, it was kind of like
A little stiff.
a little stiff.
That wasn't more because of the cold.
It kind of looked like it built up some rust. Like
Oh,
pretty
really?
quick.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Huh.
must be. This Texas weather is brutal with
Hmm.
the rust.
Yeah, that humidity down there is
Yeah.
is rough.
So then I put some oil on there and kind of gave it a few cranks, dropped a little bit more, a little bit more oil, and then after that I was working like a champ.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, man, this Texas weather is rough. At least with the humidity and the rust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over there near the Houston area, that can get very humid.
Okay, yeah, because back home in Phoenix, Arizona, it's like
Oh no, it's dry as a bone.
it's
out
dry as
there.
a bone. So it's kind of crazy just seeing that.
Here in Austin, where we are, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, like, most people don't realize just because of how built up it is, but Houston is basically built on swamp.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's marshy and mucky and humid and wet everywhere.
So what you're saying is Austin's a lot better.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, because I also noticed that on like the gun when I came back the next day, I was just like, oh man, I was like, this freaking, I need to wipe this down,
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, it's kind of just, what the guns can take.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see too. Like, a little bit of mud, a little bit of rain, didn't matter. They kept checking along.
Yeah, they just chug right along. You were mentioning about on the table having the untouched, unmolested underfolder right there in the middle of the table. I think two things happened there. Number one, it's got that bright wood furniture. Everything else on the table is black.
Yeah,
on top
that's
of
true.
on
Yeah,
top
that's true.
of
Yep.
a black tablecloth on the thing.
True.
And so all of the black guns tend to sort of look the same.
Yeah.
And as I spent my day there greeting the public and talking to folks, it seemed to be that the newer people would kind of scan the table and either see the two big RPKs stood on their bipods, kind of because that catches the eye, or they would look right down at the bright orange wood thing right in the middle, and then kind of go for that one. Whereas the more experienced people, like that sniper guy we were talking about, people with that kind of skill level, they'd come up and the first thing they say is, ooh, adjustable gas block. I heard about these.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. We haven't even touched on that. Like, dude, like all the innovation that's going on right now, you know, especially with you guys.
Yeah.
Adjustable gas block, you know, just kind of the rail system, you know, closest thing to being like, you know, free flow almost, you know, just kind of like the dust cover. I don't want to hear anybody talking about it not holding zero. Like when people have barely started figuring out that, you know, the notch in the back is, you know,
Adjustable.
it's
Yeah,
adjustable.
what the adjustments are. And I suppose that's our fault for not informing the buying public better, right?
Yeah.
And the knobs, man. The knobs stay on.
Oh, those are
The
a
knobs
hit.
stay on.
Those
If
are a
your
hit.
knob does not stay on, let me tell you something. You're installing it incorrectly. Okay? You're installing it incorrectly.
We had a guy who was like, "Hey, I bought my hobnob. I put it on, and it didn't.
Yeah, it kind of
It fell off. It didn't work right." And we're like, "All right. Well, did you use Loctite? Because it says in the instructions you got to use Loctite." And he's like, "No, I cranked it down hand tight, and it didn't feel like I needed Loctite, so I didn't put any on." And then it fell off.
Yeah. I'm like,
And so we've recently come out with that installation video on how to put it on.
Yeah.
And like everything with an AK, you require
It's so fussy.
it's so fussy, like a little wiggle here, a little jiggle there.
Right.
And there's a little technique for everything.
Dude, I don't know how you do this for a living. Because like our gun is a milled receiver, so I don't have to rivet shit on this thing.
Well, you know what? There's a good answer to that. I accepted the fact that, you know, every kit that I come in is going to be a custom job.
Yeah.
And with that being said, is I price it accordingly to what I'm going to do. So if someone sends me an email, hey, I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah. I sit down. I think about, okay, well, this is going to take me X amount of time. That's going to take me X amount of time. Cool, I'll price it out. I send them out the price, send them out the quote. I would say 80% of the time, they say, cool. They send me the kit in. So to me, at that point, it's worth it.
Sure.
I also have learned how to read the customer now.
Okay.
If a customer sends me a very highly detailed email of what they want, and I respond back with, like, you know, a good response, obviously it's not going to be fully detailed because I have to also respond to like 20 more. Or, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to send these back. And the customer that responds, you know, kind of quickly and correctly, that's the customer I want.
Yeah.
If I get a little bit of like, you know, pushback,
Right.
it's kind of like okay, yeah, maybe I should think about this. It looks like our new
Our new neighbor. So in continuing that discussion, the custom work that you do, I never want to touch that.
A lot of people don't.
I never want to touch that work. I don't even like installing the rivets on the trigger guard.
Yeah.
So that's why we build milled receiver guns.
Yeah.
Keep the rivets to a minimum. But having to individually tailor each gun to what the individual buyer wants, it's just not our business model.
Right.
You know, we're geared towards building the absolute best standard catalog item you can buy.
Right. That's why we link up.
Yeah. And if anybody wants some of that kind of work on our stuff, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you the best IK 100 series I can, and then send it to Mario, and he'll customize it for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about we take 5 from here,
Right.
and see what's going on out there.
Yeah, I think Nelson called it.
Is it still rolling? Yeah, leave it.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll so you'll have to excuse that interruption. The shop dog found a possum, and it was fighting time.
That was like the most Texas thing I've seen. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Lord.
No, but I was telling your pops about, you know, like the whole thing with the shop, you know, being a custom shop, and how that's kind of like the route that I wanted to take, because that stuff, it gets me excited, man.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I get to have that type of fun, right, when I'm developing a new product.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
it's different kind of levels of fun, you know. And I was telling Junior this. I was like, it's funny. I was like, how me and your dad get along so great. I was like, because we just admire the things that each of us do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I think that's pretty cool. The mutual respect, and you know, kind of just me knowing that everything that you're doing is so like to the T and perfect. And then you can also kind of look at me and be like, God, this dude really cut and welded that side on there. Like, pretty cool, you know? Like,
right. And how do you get those lugs lapped in so perfectly?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that's just kind of like the cool thing for me, you know, kind of just all the custom stuff on my end, just having fun with it, you know, and and like I said, just learning your customers and learning.
I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Do you wear some of those little magnifying glasses that come down like the jewelers do when you're doing some fine little detailed work?
I do.
All right. So here's the difference, right? He's wearing those little magnifiers, you know, making some little thing like a Swiss watch kind of thing, and I'm at the other end working with this big ass CNC machine and robots putting material in and out of a machine, doing that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that I kind of learned that trick from watching Mark.
Okay.
Mark and Krebs.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, what does he have? He usually had like the helmet.
Yeah. It's like a visor with the
Like a visor
magnifiers.
with the magnifier.
Boom.
Yeah. When I first saw him do that, I was like, what the heck is that? Then I looked into it and I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah,
I was
how
like, so
cool
you're
is
saying I
that?
could
Yeah.
zoom in without like, you know, having my face
Yeah.
like that? Yeah. So that came in handy for sure. And you know, it's
How did I know you were going to be using those?
yeah. You gotta be able to see in there, especially in those tight spaces,
Yeah.
and you get everything just right. So yeah, I mean, just a couple cool projects. Like I was telling you earlier, like with the micro Dracos, you know, people bringing them in, and that being such a popular thing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. For a couple of years now, I think.
Yeah, you know, getting those rear sights off, getting a regular on, so we could put your guys' dust cover on there. You know, like that's been pretty cool. So,
Tell me about Krinks and versus micro Dracos.
well, according to some people, they're the same thing because they're both short. But everybody, I want that Draco. I was like,
So how about in
Krink.
terms of like popularity and because
man.
these things ebb and flow, right?
Yeah, Krinks are just like the hotness right now. It's like everybody.
Any idea what
wants one.
started that?
I'm not sure. Oh, well, I'll tell you one thing that I do remember. I remember when I was younger. Do you ever remember that scene where the Taliban's were training? And like before, like it's like
Oh, and their black ninja suits and stuff like that.
But they would have like videos where like I think like Osama went to go visit them, and he was like in a like kind of Slav squad.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
shooting
yeah,
that
yeah,
Krink.
yeah,
yeah.
Like, he was shooting that Krink. I remember watching that video and saying, I was like, "Whoa, what is that? Like, what is he holding?" You know, like, and then like, I was just like, "Dang, that's a cool gun," you know. And I think it's something about like the Westerners seeing their their guns like where we think it's cool, but then they think that our AR-15s are cool and they don't think their AKs are cool.
Right.
I think it's like it has something to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Because-
you want what you don't have kind of thing.
Exactly,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Because anybody, you show them a Krink and they love it. They
So-
they love that thing. Like
No, like shorties are all their age right now.
yeah.
So a handful of years ago, maybe I don't remember exactly. Maybe I can't remember if it was like 3 to 5 years ago or so, when we first introduced our top cover for the Krink.
Yeah,
We modeled it on
the M85 cover.
on an Arsenal. No.
Yeah. Yeah,
On the Arsenal, right? On the little Arsenal shorty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That a customer loaned us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then because he really wanted to have one. So
yeah,
I said,
yeah. He
"I'll
was like,
loan it
I'm
to
gonna
you."
be the first guy to have it, and we
Yeah.
was like, well, all right, well, we
On
need
the
to go and get it.
M85 or what?
No,
Or so
no, it was an
No,
actual,
on the Arsenal Krink.
Oh, the Arsenal Krink.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
an actual Arsenal Crank. But like, this guy had been pestering us about this thing forever, and we finally said, all right, fine, we'll make you one. We have to source a crank, and he's like, no, take mine.
Yeah, and he shipped it to us from I don't remember what state he was in.
Yeah, mailed us his gun. We had it for like 6 months. We did all the
Yeah.
testing and development on this guy's gun so that he would be the very first one to get
Yeah.
it when it was ready.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And then, so because he loaned us his gun for such a long time and all that, I get it all equipped, put the cover on it, send it back to him. You know, no charge on the cover,
Yeah.
just as a thank you for loaning us the gun for that long. And then I made a batch of 100 covers or so.
Right.
and they never sold. We had them on the website.
Yeah.
You know, we did a little bit of promotion on them and whatnot, but they took forever to sell. And nobody was buying them. Nobody was buying them. So, all right. So finally they sell. I make a little batch. Maybe I make 40 or 50 of them or so. And those took a long ass time to sell.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went out of stock. And I was like, I don't really feel like making any more.
Yeah.
You know, Mary in the office was, hey, we got to make some more of these. We got to have them in stock. And I'm like, but I got so many of the other things to make.
Right.
And like now, it's like it's all the hot thing, right?
Yeah, it was like you probably could barely keep them in stock.
Yeah. And so now I fell behind on production because I had production demands for other things and complete rifles taking my time and all that sort of thing. And it's like, you know, stick your finger in the wind and see what's busy, what comes, what goes.
It's like trends like that go away and then come back around.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of
it's like the reason we win. So the very first version, the Gen 1 of the dogleg rail, was similar to the Baril rail that like goes over top of the original stamped steel cover.
Yep.
And then we went and made the Gen 2, which was that full integrated dust cover version, which is like the style that we have now.
That's right.
Because around that time, underfolders were the hotness. And the Gen 1 would anchor to the stock tang of a standard AK rear trunnion.
Yeah.
And so all the underfolder guys were like, hey, underfolders are the hotness right now. Make some shit for us.
Yeah, what about us? You left us out in the cold.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And right now you can't give away an underfolder.
Yeah, no, literally.
Yeah. They're making products to plug up the
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But then you'll see, watch that there's going to be a time when it comes back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, give it a few years.
Yeah, it's going to come back.
But those things are atrocious. I hope they go away and stay away forever.
I like the Polish. I like the Polish underfolders.
I like to have a cheek weld.
Yeah. I am a fan of the Polish ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I do like them. Even though you don't get, like you said, a cheek weld, I still like them.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't like say it's like the best thing, but I like how it looks, like cosmetically wise and stuff like that. So I do like them.
Okay. Yeah, like if I'm going to do an AK folder, I like the 74M style, like the side folders with the little hook in the receiver that grabs the stock.
Yeah, the 100 series. Yeah.
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 I got a couple of those in one of those drawers right over there.
Yeah, the 100 series. I would say the 100 series AK is my favorite AK, especially the 12.5 inch.
The 102 and the 104.
Yeah, that's my ultimate like AK length / model. You know, that's like my. If you were like you could only own one gun ever, that would be it right there.
I mean, like I said, that's a 12.5.
Yeah.
You know, our IK 104, but you know, ostensibly a 104.
That's the perfect length AK in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
For a 7.62.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like my personal opinion, but
Yeah, they get fussy when they're that short, though.
yeah,
The operating manual, because the dwell time on them is so teeny weeny.
right.
that-
Yep. But to me, it's just like the ultimate length that at least you can say for just to have, I guess. But now, like, there's so many options of what you can do with your AK, as we were talking about, different things. Like, it's like we were talking about like the custom side of my shop and all that. It's like now everybody's like with the race AKs, the
Dude, yeah. And I wanted to talk to you about that because when we first started in this business, like back in 2008, 2009 time, if you had told people, hey, I'm going to go shoot a match with an AK, they'd have looked at you like you're from Mars.
Right.
Like you've got antennas growing out of your head or some shit.
right.
Now, you've got comp AKs that'll go toe-to-toe with an AR all day long.
Oh, dude, I've made some of the softest shooting 5.56 AKs.
That one you have with like the white furniture that looks almost kind of like marble is still the softest shooting rifle I've ever fired, period, full stop, regardless of model.
Rifle that I had. Did I tell you the story about that?
No.
So I'm in the shop and this, one of my regular customers comes in and he goes, hey, I'm here to buy your rifle. And I'm like, I'm kind of like, I don't have anything up for sale. And I'm like, dude, I was like, I don't have anything up for sale. I was like, I'm not even, I had a couple kits of his in the shop. And I was like, I'm not done with yours either. I was like, just kind of wondering why he was there. And this was like fresh out of, what match was it? KCON. I just came back from KCON.
Okay, I was going to say, this had to have been recently because I shot that gun at Kalash Bash last year.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so then I'm kind of just like, I can't remember what match I came back from. But the guy was like, I'm here to buy your rifle. And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, whatever. don't have none for sale. He goes, this one. Shows me the video of like, you know, me shooting it. And I'm just like, oh, dude, that's not for sale. I'm like, that's my personal gun, you know? Like, and he goes, everything has a price. I'm just like, true. Takes out an envelope. Won't disclose how much was in there. And I said, it is for sale now. Went and grabbed it. Did a 44.73. He left.
Damn.
That guy goes around the Phoenix area parading that gun around, bro. Like just showing us a different.
I don't
dealers.
blame him. That thing was a work of art.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I've told myself I was going to build another one. And I've just been so busy, you know, with other people's builds. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. You work on some of other people's other stuff. You didn't get to work on your own stuff. So that gun was. It was something about it that everything just came together perfectly. Like all the ingredients and everything just worked perfectly fine. So,
yeah, that gun, man, you handed me that thing and you told me it was a 5.56, and I'm like, all right, you know, I'm kind of expecting it's going to be comparable to a normal 74,
right?
And I don't know what kind of sorcery you did to the gas system or spring rates or whatnot, but between whatever work you did to it and then the tuning on that Unrivaled brake, man, I put a quick double tap out of that gun and it just did not move. And I still have the video of the first rounds I put through it, and immediately I'm just like staring dumbstruck at the camera. I'm like not believing what I've just shot. That thing was phenomenal.
That rifle has done that to everybody that shot it.
Yeah,
has ever. And I've duplicated the same rifle for other customers, but I haven't been able to do like that rifle, like to clone it perfectly again, because there was just so much like little tinkering like here and there with stuff that at that time when I did it, I didn't write stuff down like I do now.
You should have that customer come back and be like, hey, let me have the gun back for like a weekend, and then just dissect the whole thing.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what I've been thinking about doing. But now what I was telling your dad earlier, and I was telling you, it's like now I write everything down.
Yeah.
So like now I write everything down, because before I was doing a lot of stuff by like feel and like kind of just, you know, things like that. But now I'm just like writing everything down.
Damn, Senior's dying back there.
Oh man,
over here hacking up a lung.
It's all cigars, man.
He doesn't smoke.
I know, it's just a joke. It's just
Which is funny because he was the one who gave me my first cigar, even though he doesn't smoke. I was like 14, 15 years old, something like that. Yeah. We were at some relative's house in Houston for, I don't know, some excuse to throw a party.
Yeah.
And I was outside playing in the backyard or something, talking to my cousins, who knows what. And he comes over and he's like, hey, you're old enough. Here, try it.
There you go.
Probably expecting me to not like it. You know, like when you get a kid booze for the first time and they try and they're like, oh, this is gross. And then
some kids.
Yeah, right. But he gave me the cigar and I started puffing on it. I'm like, hey, this is pretty great. I've been smoking cigars ever since.
Yeah, Clay introduced me to cigars, man.
That doesn't surprise me. He's a big cigar guy.
Yeah, he's a big cigar guy. He introduced me to them. And I went for a while there where it was just trying all the different ones, you know, finding the one that was perfect for me. And then once I kind of found it, it was kind of just like, okay, cool, you know. Yeah. Now when me and him hang out, it's like I know what I like, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm gonna when he comes on the podcast here later this month.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have him pick out a couple of cigars ahead of time. We'll have cigars here on the podcast.
There you go. He'll like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, he's back.
He is. Are you alive? Did you hack up the lung, or is it still, you know, everything still works?
I got one inside still. You know, it's what is it? Wednesday. I started coming down with a cold.
Yeah.
Thursday morning, and this is, you know, the last 3 days before Kalash Bash.
Yeah, it's always how that happens, isn't it? It's like right when you have somewhere to be and stuff to do. It's like, all right, that's when you get sick.
I guess I'll get sick now. Yeah.
So Wednesday evening, started coming down with it. I got the symptoms. I knew what was coming. Thursday morning, I wake up feeling terrible.
Yeah.
But what do you got to do? You come into work, you spend 10, 12 hours here.
Right.
Feeling terrible the whole day, you know, walking in slow motion.
Yeah.
Friday, the same thing. I still managed to build 4 guns in those 2 days. And then by Saturday morning during Kalash, I'm feeling better.
Right. I say you looked on Sunday. You looked strong.
Yeah, and because I was on the recovery side, but I was talking so much to so many people that I started losing my voice, becoming hoarse, and my vocal cords have been just so irritated.
Yeah, it started to be me
that's
on
it.
Sunday afternoon too.
Yeah, you talk to a lot of people.
You do. I think it was like 1,500-ish attendees this year, and
Yeah.
you get hundreds of people coming through the booth.
Yep.
And it's great to talk to people and whatnot, but yeah, man, it burns you out.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, with last year I had my booth there, and I think by Sunday night after the award ceremony, I wanted to crawl in bed and just ball up and just crash out.
Mm-hmm.
It was so exhausting. And that's another thing where it's like with these events, the people are so excited to meet you. You're so excited to meet them, and it's just like you fight through that fatigue all day just to make that customer experience so much better for them.
Not to mention, it gives you energy, right? You're energized.
It does. But there's definitely, there's a crash afterwards.
huge.
Like the award ceremony ended, the crowd scattered, everyone went to their cars, and immediately it's like, oh my God, it's like, damn, I still have a 2-hour drive home.
I got a 13-hour drive home now.
Have fun.
I know, right? So on the drive here, I'm passing El Paso? Yeah, El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed my exit for my gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'll catch the next one.
You made that mistake.
Nope.
You're not a Texan
Nope.
yet.
Yep.
So anytime I go and road trip,
Yeah.
I keep 2 5.25-gallon jerry cans in my trunk for that reason.
Well, yeah.
And the only times I've ever had to use them is going through West Texas.
Yeah. So now you can go look at my Tahoe before I leave, and you'll see that I have that in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
And it's woman intuition is so crazy. My wife hadn't called me the whole trip. Guess when she called me?
Right there when you're out of gas.
Yep. And I didn't answer because I was like, God, I don't want to get this earful right now. Like it's like I don't want to hear her right now. I told you, play it safe and blah blah blah. So I don't answer. She texts me. And luckily, I don't know how or what, but I just got super lucky or blessed. God had his hand on my shoulder. This guy pulls up. Hey, man, saw your blinkers were on for a while and you pulled over. You okay? No, I'm out of gas. Well, jump in. I'll go take you to get some. Takes me, brings me back. Takes about 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, something that could have really destroyed my trip. And I could have been out here all night.
Yeah.
It's like it just was like a 40-minute delay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I'm lucky. I was like, how did I get this lucky? So and I'm talking to the guy in the car. He's like telling me like, oh yeah, this has happened to me before. He works in the oil fields. He was telling me.
Yeah.
And
Odessa.
Yeah.
And he lived in San Antonio, so he was going home.
That's a long commute.
Yeah. He was saying it's like 7 weeks on, and then they take 2 weeks off.
Okay.
And he was just driving by, and like I said, he saw my blinkers and all that. And he was like, I asked him, I was like, what made you pull over? He's like, this has been me. He's like, I've been in your spot. He was like once or twice. He was like, so I figured I'd help somebody out when I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, folks generally are not, the first times they don't realize the vastness of West Texas. Never mind all of Texas, but the vastness of West Texas. And the sparse population out there.
So I missed the exit, right? And I kept driving, and I was like, I'll catch the next one, like I said.
Yeah.
And I'm driving, 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 and I'm looking down at my gas tank, and I'm down to 2 gallons. So then I was like, okay, let me take my maps out. 70 miles to the next one still after all that. It was so I talked to Clay afterwards, and he was saying that for that gap from that Chevron to the Sunoco, whatever it is,
Sunoco.
100 miles.
Yep.
Without a gas station.
So
From that should be illegal.
to give you an idea of how
Like, to give you an idea how big this is out here,
Yeah.
so
the distance from El Paso, where
Yeah.
you came in, to Houston is bigger than the distance from El Paso to Los Angeles.
from from where you are right now in Texas,
Yeah.
right? We're in Austin, so we're pretty smack in the middle of Texas. You can drive in any direction for 7 hours and still be in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
If you're going north, it's 9 or 10 before you hit the northern border of the Panhandle. And if you go out to El Paso, we're about 11 hours from El Paso.
Yeah, I'm going to text you tomorrow, 11 hours later, and be like, hey, I'm in El Paso.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go to Colorado typically once a year with my friends.
Yeah.
And the first 10 of that 14-hour drive is just getting out of Texas.
There you go. So for everybody watching, when you come to Texas,
Have a
think
gas
big.
can.
yeah, exactly.
Think big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the first time I've driven to Texas this way. I've driven across the country before to Windsor, Connecticut. I helped my buddy move, but that was like a
long drive.
Oh, dude, 50 hours straight. We didn't stop.
Wow.
50 hours straight nonstop. That was a wild trip. That was that was the first time that I tell this story, and people they say like, I don't believe you. I'm like, I swear to you, it happened. I was driving this big rig, like it was like 10 pounds under the weight limit for you to require your CDL, which had all my friends' parents like stuff that from the house that we were moving. So I'm driving it, and we were passing Oklahoma City. And I promise you, I was tired, whatever. I probably should have just pulled over. And I looked at the clock, and it said 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I remember doing this and opening my eyes, and then it said 8 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know what happened. My body went into like another dimension, or like my body went into
Just
like
that trance state you get into when you're driving on the highway at night.
Yeah. I was like, and then I'll remember just freaking out.
It's a glitch in the
Like,
Matrix.
there you go. I was like pushing the clock, like, you know, like looking over at my friend, like
Sun starts to come up. And you're like,
yeah, I was like, wait, what? You know? And then I'm like tapping him on the shoulder. I'm like, hey, bro, I was like, you got to take over. I was like, because the clock just went from like 3 to 8. I was like, so I don't know what
blacked out
happened.
for 5 hours.
I blacked out for 5 hours, bro. I think I was like so locked into the drive that like my brain just like locked in and like.
I have no idea how that's humanly possible.
Isn't it crazy?
To operate a motor vehicle under those conditions. I mean, if you told me I was working on the computer, I was, you know, and you're a software programmer or even a gamer, right? You're all so wrapped up in the game. You blink and it goes from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Okay, I get that.
It was crazy.
But behind the wheel of a truck going 60 to 80 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think.
Well, glad you're still with us.
No, I think my memory just decided to erase those 5 hours or something because, dude, it was nuts. I never. So like now, as soon as I get like somewhat tired behind the wheel, it's like, hey, let's pull over, you know. But I rarely drive though now, like out of town and stuff like that. Yeah. This was huge. If you were to talk to my wife about me coming here, she'd tell you I was like not freaking out, but just kind of like, oh my god, like.
I remember you called me and you were like, how long of a drive is this?
Yeah, like 16-hour drive. I was like,
I thought you'd made that drive before.
No, it's always been plain. It's always been plain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this year it was just like, you know, so much stuff that was brought that I was just kind of like, I have to drive. Like flying wasn't even an option with all this, with all the ammo and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? I enjoyed it. Even though
it's really pretty in some areas out there in West Texas. I mean, you get a lot of those like cool desert rock formations and canyons. And
stuff. I enjoyed it. Like aside from that little mishap, you know.
Yeah, from that mishap.
Yeah, it was actually really enjoyable. It was just kind of cool being able to just reflect on everything, like with the drive here, you know, thinking about all the Kalash Bashes leading up to this one, you know, knowing that I was going to be partnering up with you guys and doing stuff with you guys and the Unrivaled guys. And just knowing I was coming to hang out, it just kind of was like, you know, I was like, oh, man, it's pretty cool. Reminded me kind of like the first time we came here and we saw the facility.
That was last year,
Yeah. And it was just like, oh, man. This is cool.
You know, like, so you like it?
Yeah. Well, I think we were here when you were still across the street as well.
Yeah, that's right. I had the second building as well, and then
that was the project garage.
That was our kind of skunk works over there. Our Phantom works.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Then we
need to come up with a name for it.
Yeah. So we were able to, you know, get our space utilization a bit more efficient and consolidate into the one building. and it's better because having to walk across the parking lot to the second building on a frequent basis, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah. But it was just extremely cool.
Yeah,
you know, kind of seeing all the whole setup. I think the video that you guys did with Clay when he came in here and shown how professional and how legit this is. Like
he said something funny that that struck me. He says, "This is so much more than I thought it was going to be."
Yes.
'Cause I guess he was expecting like a little gunsmith shop.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny because over the years, I've had people, when they encounter us like in person and see the scale of the business, they always say, "Oh, I thought you guys were like a really big company with like 100 employees or something."
Yeah, people like the normal customer. I guess it's just the normal customer that doesn't know a lot about the inner workings behind the scenes in the industry.
Yeah,
they think we're like Palmetto big.
Yeah,
which. Yeah.
I've gotten that before too. When people come to my shop, it's a little tiny shop. You know,
Yeah.
I was telling you, I was making fun of my own shop in here, and I was like, "Oh, look at Nelson." I was like, "My shop's from like here to here." Like, he's like, "You just have a couple machines in this little area." They come in and they're like, "Oh, like this is it," but then they go in the back and they see how well everything is set up, and they're like, "Oh, never mind. Like this is what all you need."
Yeah.
So when I came here, I was expecting like one or two CNCs, and then I saw the rest, and I was like, "Whoa, there's a robot in here." Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's it's amazing the mountain of metal chips that we generate.
Oh
and,
God,
and
yeah.
like,
we should do the math at some point and
Yes,
figure out
I
how
don't
many
even-
like cubic feet of metal chips we make in a month.
You know, when we were, things have slowed. The whole industry slowed down a bit now, but at one point, when we were really big, we had, how big the dumpsters are they use at construction sites where they come in and they just roll them off the truck.
Oh yeah, those ones that are like a 40-foot shipping container with the top cut off.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Not that big, like a 20-foot shipping container kind of thing. We had those out in the parking lot, and we'd fill those things up with metal chips.
Wow.
And
Wow.
shit,
Okay.
it was fast. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and that's what makes me so proud of just being able to partner with you guys. Like knowing that all the hard work that gets put into it and how genius it is. I couldn't be any prouder of being your guys' friends and partnering up with you guys and stuff. So thank you. Thank you for being.
Let me ask, how are you guys doing on time? Because I do still want to ask you about competition guns, but we do have to swap an SD card here in a moment. Are you good to keep going for a little while longer?
I'm good.
All right, we're going to cut for just a moment, swap some SD cards, and then we will be right back with you.
Nice.
All right, we got our cards changed, and we're back. So I want to bring us back to competition rifles, where we were talking about before. Kind of where we started, where we are now, and where you see competition AKs going in the future. I mean, like when this all started, I'm sure it was just bone stock AKs.
It was a whole lot of Tapco product on there.
oh yeah.
It's a whole bunch.
Oh God, I remember all that crap that used to.
You got lucky if you could mount a red dot, somewhat, easily.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wasn't until I came across your guys' dust cover where it was like, okay, cool, now I can do this somewhat easier,
Yeah.
Then later on, it's like the Ultimate gas tube came out, and then after that, it was just more.
No, let me correct you there. The Ultimate came out before our product did.
Did it?
Yeah, by several years.
Oh wow!
And in fact, it was one of the factors we looked at in our design, because back then, again, we're talking 2008 timeframe.
Right.
The cheaper optics people were using, there was this product, a Bushnell TRS 25,
Right. Yep.
$49.99, something like that.
Yep.
And people would throw those up on their
Ultimax.
Ultimax,
And they get
and
cooked.
and they'd cook them inside of a few hours.
Yep.
And they just wouldn't hold up.
Yep.
And then we'd
Yeah, it's fine if you've got a $700 aim point micro.
the
on
aim
it,
points
but
would last forever.
That was back in the era when a Wasser 10 was $400, and you'd pull that shit out of a barrel, and nobody wanted to put a $700 aim point on a $400 Wasser.
And that's the thing, like speaking about, just like competition, right? I think the competition side of the AK world,
Yeah.
advanced all the options that there is out there today for the AK.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a firm believer of that because when we first came onto when I first bought my first AK to where it's at now, it's insane all the options that there is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys as a company, if you look at the first product you made to where you're at now,
Yeah.
the evolution of each product has been just better and better and better.
I mean, when our products first came out, our only competition was the $20 bargain bin stuff from China at a gun show and Mark Krebs.
That's right.
Yeah, that was it.
And I mean, now, I mean, you look at the AK accessory space, and it's huge in comparison to what it once was.
Massive. There's so many options.
Like I find myself nowadays almost struggling to keep up with just how many different accessories manufacturers there are in the AK space, because there are just so many now.
And I feel like a big, like I said, what was responsible for that is all these matches that are going on, having people actually be able to dress up the AK and go compete with it. Mm-hmm. I think that's what really blew up the AK market in my personal opinion, because now you could use your gun instead of just going out and shooting trash. You know, that gets boring after a while.
Yeah, like no civilian in this country is getting into a firefight with their AK.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, if you want to push it, a comp's the place to do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I feel that big boom of the AK market came from.
Of course, you just said that, and somebody's going to find some news article somewhere where man defends, against home invasion with his AK or something.
Okay, 1 in 4 million, sure.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, but somebody's going to find it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but home defense still isn't a firefight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know.
I think that's what the competition side of this is what's going to keep the market going and flourishing, and it's going to push.
I'm inclined to agree with you,
and it's going to push the innovation as well.
Yeah, for sure.
That's personally what I think, because it's like you first started off with these like muzzle brakes that were, from eBay.
Yeah,
and then now you have like the guys at Unrivaled Technologies like designing like this specific brake for the AK platform.
That thing is something else, man.
And it works amazing.
It's so good.
Right. And including your company, you guys started off with like the Polish style, and then now it's like a full blown railed.
It's our own thing now. Yeah,
exactly. Along with your handguard, along with the adjustable gas block, like it just keeps evolving.
Yeah,
the extended charging handle, the knob,
and the smooth buttstock, right?
Right. It's like, I know you've had like all this stuff in engineering it with like in mind of like, real world scenario stuff, but all this stuff also applies to the competition.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool to me.
So I'm learning a lot from you guys.
Yeah.
Again, my perspective was always from the working gun perspective, not the racing gun, but the working gun, and what does the soldier need?
Right.
So I approach things from that perspective, and
a good way to look at it, Nelson.
And I was saying he would criticize me
a
bit for saying, no, you need to think more about this, but I didn't really fully understand that world until I started getting involved with Kalash Bash.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I've always said this, and it's always made sense to me. And when I say it out loud to other people, it makes sense to them. I always say you could use stuff that you learn from competition in a real life firefight, but you cannot use anything you learn in a real life firefight in competition.
That's a good point. No, like at the end of the day, a good shooter's a good shooter.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it's like, all right, cool. Like all this whiz bang stuff, like, it works great for your rifle. That could translate into the battlefield if it really had to. So it's kind of one with the other, like it's obviously, of course, competition's like I'm not even trying to compare it, to a real firefight. Like,
right.
That's not what I'm doing. But the added stress of like, you pushing yourself to your limit of how fast you can shoot, the added stress of the crowd watching you, the timer, you having to be safe about it as well. Like, because when you're out there, you have to remember, like, at the end of the day, you're shooting a firearm. You have to remain safe. You can't break the 180.
Yep.
Can't trip and fall. You can't I mean, you can, but you know, if you do, like, what are you gonna do to stay safe? Like, all that stuff still implies. So it is a little bit nerve wracking. So what happens?
Stressful, yeah.
It's stressful. There you go. It's the most stress you're gonna put on your body while handling a firearm that you could put yourself without being in a real firefight.
But like I'll say it's a unique kind of stress.
Yeah.
Because like I've done stress shoots before a couple of times. You know, you're doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats and sprints and stuff to elevate your heart rate and whatnot and that sort of thing. But it's different when you get up there on the line and the buzzer's about to go off and it's like, okay, you've got to perform and you've got one shot.
It's like it's like what the Unrivaled guys taught me. They're like, you have to stay insanely focused for 30 seconds.
Yep.
It's interesting there because
like
you just brought up some memories from my racing days.
Yeah.
And so I started racing. I got my racing license in 1990. And that's when the Soviet bloc was collapsing. Bill Clinton gets voted in 92.
Yeah.
And there was that whole thing they call the peace dividend. Soviet Union collapses. Military budget starts diminishing and all this kind of thing. And so, you know, for those reasons, among others, I never served in the federal military forces. You know, later in life, I served in the Texas State Guard as a search and rescue technician. He talked about that a little while ago.
Yeah.
But going back to the racing thing, in those days, I used to compare it. People would ask me about what's racing like and things like that. And I would compare it to the closest thing that a civilian can get to for dogfighting without the vehicle behind shooting at you.
Yeah.
Right. But the chase, the positioning, the strategy that goes into it, the maneuvering, all of that sort of thing is racing cars on a big road course. Is like a 2-dimensional dogfight without machine guns.
That's pretty cool.
That's a good way of looking at it. I've never heard you explain it that way. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it is a thrilling thing to do.
Yeah, and it's challenging.
Yeah, it is challenging, and the focus is that razor for not 30 seconds, man. It's minimum 30 minutes. so you're focusing like that for half an hour at a pop. If you do the longer races, they're 2 hours at a pop.
Right.
So yeah, that's a lot of focus.
Yeah, it's like snapping in at a match because like you're there. It's 8 stages, for a big major.
Mm-hmm.
You shoot for 30 seconds, then you stop, and then now you have to reset, help everybody else in the squad,
and
then carry all your gear to the next stage, and then get there, learn the new stage, and if you're not first to shoot, you have to be taping and then doing all that. So then now your brain is just getting tired, your body's getting tired.
Dude, that's like mentally taxing because you got to you ramp up, you do it, and then you got to spool down, and then you got to go right back up. You're cycling up and down for the whole day.
Yeah. So, and that's what's so neat about it, because it's literally whoever makes the podium, the top 3 in the division. It's like whoever shot the best and also stayed focused the whole day, and was just mentally, physically, and equipment prepared.
Yeah,
it's like what makes it to the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's cool to watch. Sometimes it's yourself, sometimes it's your friends, sometimes it's people you don't know. But when you see those people, those 3 people get called up there for each division, you're like, that's cool. Yeah. This guy came not only equipment ready, mentally ready, physically ready, but it's cool to watch. I mean, for me personally.
And you can see it too. Like if you're in a squad with one of the podiums, man, it's impressive to see them. They get up online, and you can see the switch flip, and they just lock in, and it's total focus. The buzzer goes, and they're just ripping it.
And one thing that I've learned to do is I can match people's rifle to the way they shoot. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's so cool. When I see you shoot and I look at your gun, that gun matches your personality and the way you shoot.
Interesting. How so?
It's just, it has options. You're an option kind of guy.
I am.
You have 2 different kind of dust covers with 2 different sights.
Yep.
You have an adjustable gas block for your adjustability and gas. You have a quick mount suppressor because you want to have the option of suppressed or non-suppressed. You have a stock that folds because you want it to fold or not fold. So, you know,
And I had a flashlight on there too, which I pulled off just so I could get through barricades easier. But
Right.
yeah.
So now spending the weekend with you, it's like I kind of see your personality in your rifle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from all the different aspects that you've been talking about and all the knowledge that you have and all these different kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I kind of look at you and then your style of shooting and I your rifle and it's like it all matches.
So a gadget guy, you mean?
So it's cool. And then so like I enjoy that, going to competitions and seeing people's rifles and like just like I could see somebody's rifle and it tells me a lot about that person.
Yeah.
So when I've been to some of the matches that he shoots, he's been pestering me to run the match as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always declined. I said, no, let me just, I'll be your pit crew while I'm here.
Yeah.
But I'm observing how he shoots, I'm observing how everyone else shoots. And then I'm walking around and I'm looking at their rifles, seeing their setup, seeing what they're doing, why are they making the choices they're making.
Yeah.
And so I'm there learning
Right.
a lot about, people's preferences and their styles.
Right.
And that's going to invariably influence how I design product.
Yeah. And it's funny because what's one thing that you told me when we first started the match, when you were like, oh dang man, you came up here and you're doing this match very lean.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's just who I am. I'm like just like kind of one-dimensional guy sometimes in certain things.
Single-minded.
Yes,
Single-minded.
Yeah.
And I like to like just say streamlined. I like to like run, just kind of just real light. And so then you look at my rifle and it's like 30 round mag, iron sights. That's it.
Yeah. All the rest of us have, wagons with ammo and tools and snacks and a folding chair and all this stuff. And he's got a single cloth rifle case that looks like he bought it at Academy Sporting Goods.
Mm-hmm.
And like 2 mags and a tiny little ammo can of ammo.
Yep.
And that was
was
everything
it.
he had on.
That's all I needed. Like just real simple,
Yep.
And that's how I live. I just live real simple. And like I'm saying, it's just like, it's kind of like, that's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, I know the mags that I have work. I know that the ammo I have works. I know that a rifle that I have works, and I don't need nothing else. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you remind me of something that I've told him about. In those of us out there that are familiar with Lotus cars and the Lotus Grand Prix team, the founder of that company, a guy by the name of Colin Chapman, and one of the philosophies he's best known for, one of his engineering philosophies that he's best known for, is simplify, then add lightness.
I love the way that's
I
phrased
like
too.
that.
Add lightness.
Simplify, then add lightness.
Like
And
phrasing it as add lightness is
Yeah.
like it's such a deliberate, like this is a thing that we are going to do to the car.
Yeah.
know?
And so since I come from the racing world, and and that man, he passed away back in the 1980s, had such an outsized influence in the engineering side of the Grand Prix world, the sports car world. It influenced a lot how I learned the engineering of that sport, and what I learned there in motorsports is what I brought to the gun world.
Nice.
And I think that's reflected in the designs that you see back here. My design approach to these products that I'm developing, where we try to make them as smooth, simple, and light. And oftentimes you look at the product and it is deceptively simple.
Yep.
And so you don't fully realize how much, what would be the right way to express it, how much thought or how much
depth.
Yeah, depth or secret sauce
Right.
goes into making such a simple looking product.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's what I'm saying. I feel like the competition world has brought that out.
Yeah. So in fact, that simplicity is so deceiving that our product has been cloned by foreign manufacturers a number of times, and they duplicate the features, but they duplicate them wrong because they don't understand what they're looking at.
Yeah.
My favorite. All right, I'm being told to shut up and not reveal our secrets too much, but yeah, it's comical to see, when they clone without understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, because they'll miss a key ingredient, and you look at it, it's like these doofuses got 90% of the way there,
Right.
and then forgot that little last little piece.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think you just like phrased what I told you. Remember, I was like, they were almost there.
Yeah.
Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
I was like, they were almost there. I was like, but they didn't get there.
So okay, so where do you see the state of AK competition right now, both as a competition, but also in the sense of like competition rifles?
I think it's healthy.
Okay.
It's definitely healthy, but you can't get comfortable either. I feel like there has to be more matches integrated, more smaller matches, because you could go just about any state that has like a good two-way presence, or not even really, like in California. You would think California didn't have weekly rifle matches, right? Just from what you hear in the news,
Right.
they do.
How do you do that? How do you run a carbine comp without being able to load your gun properly?
That I don't know, because all the guys that do go run those matches,
Carry multiple guns.
What are you, John Wick?
because all the guys that go do those matches, I don't see them, having to do all that funky stuff. But I mean, I don't. Like I said, it's like a cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm assuming law enforcement out there where those hosting those matches in California, they're not really enforcing that BS stuff,
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, man, some of the best shooters come out of California, which is kind of crazy because due to their laws. But in Nevada, like Vegas, they have weekly rifle matches. In the Valley, in Phoenix, there's a weekly rifle match.
Yeah.
I'm sure like every here you have TK.
Yeah, Texas Kalash.
Yeah, so it's like there's rifle matches, probably across the U.S. everywhere in every state.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, let's have AK specific rifle matches.
Yeah.
Every month, and then let's sprinkle 4 or 5 big major matches across the U.S. throughout the year. And I think that's how you keep the AK market healthy, and you continue to innovate it, and you continue to sell product that way. Because, like for example, myself. Okay, I'm shooting light irons division right now.
Yeah.
There's going to come a day where I am not going to be able to see the same, and I'm not going to be able to pick up my iron sights the same way. Like,
Right.
I'm already blind as it is without my glasses. I know my eyesight's only going to deteriorate more as I get older. So it's going to be nice to use a red dot later on.
I feel you. So I'm lefty normally. I train ambidextrous shooting.
Right.
But this last year, I've basically been shooting righty exclusively because my left eye's shot now. So now I got to go get contact lenses so I can shoot ambi again. But yeah,
And then I'm also sure you're going to change something on your gun to accommodate for that.
I've started running etched reticles instead of red dots on my gun because the astigmatism in my eye messes them up less.
Right. So basically, it's so if you cycle the guys, right, that are like starting off, and then the guys that are kind of like, okay, cool, like I'm brand new to the irons division, and then there's guys like me who's like, well, I've been in this forever, so now I'm just gonna jump to the open division because and you just keep cycling like that through the years. Then more and more product gets sold.
So now I'm wondering if I could incorporate a tiny little contact lens into a diopter sight. So you can turn a knob, shoot one side with the right eye, turn a knob, shoot the side with the left
I
eye.
need your prescription, guys.
Yeah, right.
Send me your prescription, and we'll get this done.
You probably could, not for me. So the weird thing I have requires an actual lens to be in contact with my eye, so
okay.
that wouldn't work. But for people with normal messed up vision, that would probably work, like a prescription backer for the back of your lens. I know I have a VR headset and it has something similar. You can actually get little lens inserts that go in
Interesting.
front of the eyepieces for your VR headset that matches your prescription.
All right.
So yeah, maybe you could actually possibly do that.
Yeah, so that keeps the market going.
Yeah.
Like the
churn.
The churn, and like maybe one year I want to shoot irons, next year I want to shoot open, next year I want to shoot heavy, and this year I want to shoot light. So it's like,
Man,
just
I've
keeps
always
the market alive and going.
I've always shot optics. I've only been competing for 6-7 months, but I've shot optics the whole time, and messing around with that gun on Saturday and Sunday after the competition, man, you got me thinking about maybe going and shooting irons a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah, try it. What the hell?
yeah, keep it interesting. You know, and like I said, that's some guys want to do that. Some guys want to jump around from division to division. They want to build different guns with different products and stuff like that. So, like I said, it keeps the industry healthy.
Yeah.
So, and where I feel like where it's going to take it, it's just, you know, companies are, like you said, they're creating new stuff. It's innovating. It's pushing the envelope. It's, you know, forcing companies to do cool stuff.
Are there any voids you think that exist in the competition side of the AK market right now? Like,
that's a good question, man, because, you know, the muzzle brakes are there right now. The rail systems are there right now.
I was going to ask a slightly different question. If I can get you to consider something else.
Yeah.
And that is, how do we better promote our platform and community so that people don't still think of it as bump fire bubbas?
Well, this is where I find it that people get turned off by the AK crowd, is that they come in and they either do something stupid, say something stupid, and then you have that really small percentage of the AK crowd that comes in and tries to drag them through the mud, turns them off, and then they turn away. If you are new to the AK platform, do not let these freaking guys that are living in the basement at their mom's house, you know, just straight losers on Facebook that have super negative things to say, get to you.
If your only experience with the AK community is r/AK-47,
right?
I don't blame you for having a dismal view of the community.
Exactly.
But like, one of the things that always stands
it's a very
out
small part.
It is.
They're very loud.
It is.
But I tell this all the time. Come out to a Kalash Bash.
Oh my God!
Come
yeah,
out
I was
to,
just gonna
to
say
anything. Like, you'll see how great the crowd is. You know, don't let those little internet freaking, you know, what can we call them? Internet freaking trolls. You know, turn you off from the platform, because there's a lot of fun to be had here. You know, with the AKs. Oh, cool story. I have a friend named Mike back in Phoenix. He has a pretty decent size YouTube channel. He's up and coming, and he's doing very well. It's called Tactical Considerations.
Okay.
He hits me up one day. He goes, "Hey, I'm not an AK guy whatsoever, but people in the channel keep requesting AK content." He goes, "But I'm not an AK guy." So he goes, "So I want to send you an AK." He goes, "Make me a believer." Cool. I do my thing to his rifle. Blam. He gets it back. Calls me. "Dude, this is like the best experience I've had with an AK. Oh my gosh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, the trigger feels amazing. Oh, you know, oh, I didn't even know you could put a red dot on an AK. Oh my God, it has this." So all the stuff, you know, that modernizing it. And now he's like super happy about it. But his like biggest turnoff was just like that he didn't enjoy the AK crowd as well.
Yeah.
So like when people were asking him to do stuff like content, he was like, "I just don't want to mingle in that crowd," because he thought it was like just all these like, you know, yeah, my rifle's fine.
Yeah. So on that same idea.
Yeah.
Okay. When we first developed the IK series rifle,
right,
a little over a year ago, one of the things, you know, I did so, you know, with his help, focused specifically on the needs of AK shooters.
Right.
But one of the things that happened is that I started getting customers saying, "I've never had an AK before. I've got a dozen plus AR-15s in my safe."
All right.
And when I started investigating the AK platform, yours bubbled to the top.
Yeah.
And I really like what you're doing. And so I built them a rifle, you know, their first 7.62 by 39 rifle. And they get the thing, and they're over the moon with it.
Yeah.
And they'll call me like a month later, and then they'll ask me, "Can you build me one in 5.56?"
Yep.
And yeah, sure. And so that's happened already multiple times, where someone buys one, and then a month later they buy a second one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the future's healthy.
Yeah.
The future's healthy for sure.
So that to me demonstrates that we're able to reach a broader appeal to a broader audience than just the rifle is fine guy looking for his old underfolder,
Right.
and gets mad at anyone else who touches their own rifle, right? It's
Exactly.
like, dude, okay, Niet rifle is fine. Don't modify your rifle, but leave other people in peace to enjoy the sport how they wish.
And they won't because they're trolls. But like I'm saying, ignore those trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's something really cool going on with the platform. And
Yeah.
I've always said that the AR-15 market is saturated.
Oh, absolutely.
Has been for a long
It
time.
has been for a long time. And you know, guys want a different experience when they
Yeah.
go shoot a rifle, and the AK provides that.
It's such a visceral gun to shoot if all you've ever known is an AR.
Right.
Like an AR, we were talking about this at Kalash Bash the other day. Like the AR is great. It's a good weapon. It's reliable. It's accurate.
Yeah, it's
There's
great.
every option you could
Yeah.
have to accessorize it. But when it comes to running the gun, engaging with the weapon, everything is just pushing a button.
Yep.
You push a button to drop the bolt. You push a button to release the mag. Like everything is just a quick little easy, and then it's done.
So
on the AK, you got to manhandle the thing.
Yeah. So it's like, from what you guys are saying, and you know, this is not intended to to disrespect anybody, but running the AR-15 platform, because it's so civilized,
Right.
right, and
It's a
well
refined
thought out
gun.
and so refined and all that. It's almost like running, like you see the guys that are racing around those Honda Civics with turbocharged motors, putting out 500 and 600 horsepower out of that little 2-liter motor or whatever they're running, and it's amazing what they do.
Right.
But kind of a plug and play thing versus the AK, which is like a big block 1967 Corvette.
Just about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Swinging that thing around the
yeah,
corners.
or an old Shelby Cobra or
Yep.
something like that. It's like, yeah, you're driving that thing, you're feeling it, you know it. You know, it's a whole different experience.
And
Yeah.
that's why I enjoy shooting the irons too, because
Yeah.
it's that full experience. You're just getting it. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh man.
So in the motorcycle world,
yeah.
that's why you compare a modern Japanese sport bike,
Yeah.
and they're like these little Swiss watches, these little sewing machines. But my sport bike of choice is a mid-2000s Buell Firebolt with a big air-cooled Harley thumping V-twin in the thing, right?
There you go.
The Buell version of that V-twin.
Yeah.
And you just, I mean, the thing idles, it shakes like a paint mixer, and, and going through the gears feels like you're stirring a bucket of bolts.
Oh,
But there's, in spite of its deficiencies,
Yeah.
it is so engaging,
Yeah.
and it feels so satisfying
Yep.
to race that thing around.
No,
I
it's
think-
such a visceral experience.
Yeah. And I think with the AK being my first rifle,
Yeah, yeah, mine
shooting
too.
it, and then like handing me like a AR after that, I'm kind of just
Yeah.
like, "No, it's not fun, bro."
Yeah,
Let me
I mean,
keep
I've got
shooting this.
I've got the AR-15s here too, and I admire the hell out of that weapon.
Yeah, it's a great gun. It's a great
the-
rifle. People
know-
assume that just because you're an AK guy, you don't like any other platform. I do. I like a whole bunch of other guns.
Yeah,
I've got half a dozen AR builds that I've spec'd out on a spreadsheet that I'm just waiting to have some cash burning a hole in my pocket to go and build them.
Yeah, but it's just, at the end of the day, this is like kind of like what like I really really have fun with.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's kind of like if I'm gonna go do something, it's gonna be with my AK.
Yeah.
So AR, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll get one build here soon by the Unrivaled guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen their AR stuff.
No, I haven't.
It's
I'm sure it's great, just
It's
like,
like an
their
airsoft
AK
gun.
stuff. Oh my god,
it's like an airsoft gun, dude. It's kind of just like,
it's like plinking a suppressed 22, it just doesn't move.
yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, we were getting ready for the match, and my buddy Zach calls me, and he's like, "Hey," he was like, I think I did something to the brake," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I don't know." He was like, "You know what?" He's like, "Never mind." He's like, "I think I just been shooting my 9mm Maul's like too much that I like, I've going from that to like the 30 cal." He was like, "I'm kind of like, oh, recoil does exist." I'm just like, yeah. I was like, yeah, because like they have some of like the most craziest stuff, like the ARs and the 9mm, like 9mm ARs. Oh my gosh, dude, it's like, I guess it's like an airsoft gun.
Yeah.
It's like an airsoft gun.
Yeah.
And then you shoot like their stuff with their brakes and the 5.56 stuff, and it's just like, oh, another airsoft gun.
Yeah.
30 cal. That's why I'm impressed with what their brake can do, because you'll always feel something.
Yeah.
Like with 30 cal, always. Like the recoil is not going to just 100% disappear. the closest that, like I said, to disappearing is probably like having their brake and then like a well fine-tuned, adjustable gas block to adjust the gas with.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll still feel recoil. You'll still have to learn how to manage it.
So many people that during Kalash Bash here that fired this rifle back here, the little lower one that you tuned before the race, and so people know we sent Mario that rifle a few weeks or maybe a month, if that,
Yeah, it was
before the match, and said, "Here you do, you figure it out, do whatever you want with it."
For those of you listening only, it's one of our IK 101s, so 16-inch barrel in 5.56.
Right.
Yeah. So the 5.56 rifle, and I remember you asking me, "Okay, man, sure, I can tune it. And kind of, what do you want me to do with it?"
Yeah.
And I told you, I don't care. You're the one running the competition. You do your thing to it, and see how you like it. Just do your thing.
Right.
And so you ran the match with it, and then afterwards on Saturday and Sunday, we had it there for the public to come up and shoot the very gun that you ran in the match.
Yep.
And people were just amazed by that gun. So 5.56, is a soft shooting caliber to begin with.
Right.
But then with the brake that you installed from Unrivaled, and
then you sprinkle a little extra stuff there.
and your little seasoning that you put into it, give it just that certain je ne sais quoi, right? The thing is just boom. It's like a little laser beam. It's just so flat. It's just
God, it's such a tack driver.
People shoot it, and it just kind of vibrates a teeny little bit, and no muzzle rise, no anything, and everybody reacted the same way.
Yeah.
And like nearly everybody that shoots one of the sample guns has a friend come up and videotape them.
Yep.
Right.
And like nearly 100%, I'd have to say, 98.8% or something.
Right.
They take that first shot, they immediately go, whoa, and they look at their buddy that's recording them, and there's, whoa, it shoots so flat.
Yeah.
This thing is amazing.
It doesn't move.
And I was telling Junior earlier, like with my personal gun that I sold to that one guy, I spent months on that thing. Months fine-tuning it. Every time I went to go shoot it, I would come back to the shop, I'd change a little something, and I'd fine-tune it like that. So when customers ask me, like, oh, no, I want like that, I'm like, dude, that's not really possible, because like if I had to charge you, for the amount of time and stuff that it would be insane.
It'd be a $10,000 AK.
Exactly. So that's why it's like I tried to replicate that as close as possible, but it's like I can't do it with every gun because that one just took so long, because it was just like every outing, like, okay, I found something that I could change. All right, I did it. Okay, I'm gonna test this, and like, well, no, that didn't work. Let me go back to this.
That's the other thing too, is like you can't do that to a customer's gun without taking it out yourself and running 1,000 rounds through it.
Exactly. That was my point.
So it's like, all right, dude, if you want me to use up 5% of your rifle's service life in tuning it, like, I'll do it. But
that's exactly where I was like getting to the point where it's like every outing that I went to, and like, okay, this didn't work last time, so then it's like now I'm like putting different variables together and like kind of switching stuff around, kind of, okay, let me put this back, let me try this hammer instead of the last hammer that I had,
right?
Or let me try this this spring instead of that spring, and then you start kind of comboing things together, shooting thousands of rounds, and then it's like, then when you find the right recipe and the right combination, it's kind of like, oh, here it is.
Yeah, that's right. You do one of those chefs, because this is just perfect. And then some guy comes along and offers you a pile of money for it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, nice, geez, thanks, guy.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. But now, as I was like telling you earlier, it's like now I'm writing everything down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a big mistake that I wasn't doing.
No, look, you found the recipe by feel, and then now you've written it down so you can make it again.
Yeah. So that's kind of like one thing that I've learned just from kind of, being around like people like yourself and talking to other people. It's like, write your ideas down. What was the book that you called?
It's an engineering notebook.
There you go.
Is what you've been creating unwittingly. That's what you've been doing.
Yeah. So that was just kind of like, okay, cool. Now that I'm doing that, feels good. And I don't know, man. It's just something about, like I said, it's just creating something for like. So like my biggest satisfaction was watching you guys shoot that gun and then turning and looking at me and saying like, "Whoa, dude! Like, what the heck? Like, that's so cool."
I've got a competition coming up. I've got a competition coming up in a couple weeks, and I'm going to shamelessly run that gun in that competition.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I was gonna say, so those notes that you keep, that engineering notebook,
yeah,
is also a legal document that supports your patent rights as you invent things.
Okay.
right? You can refer to that to the historical record of your development of your products.
That is cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so if
that's
when you,
something I didn't know.
Yeah,
when you log
there you go.
things in your book, be sure to date them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Date them, and you could have a second party witness and an initial that not that they
I do that for him sometimes.
not that they collaborated with you
Yeah.
to design the product, only that they observed you
Yeah.
developing and taking notes and all this, and kind of reviewed and understood your notes to some degree, and then initial and dated it.
It's
Yeah,
been
so
such
like
a big difference
as a
in
witness.
my thing of like stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like I could almost guess my Christmas gift for this year for my family, which is gonna be like probably like a custom like notebook, because like they've been seeing me like put in a lot of work, and like I was telling you, it's just like that like black with like white splattered notebook, you know?
Yeah, like a composition notebook.
Yeah.
And it's like driving my brother nuts. He's
But
like,
but those are legit notes. I mean, that's important data.
yeah, there you go. That data. That's like, I can't express how important that is for new shooters or people trying to come into the competition side of the word. Get your data. Go out, shoot.
No, we're shooters. It's not data. It's dope.
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 There you go. Dope.
Yeah.
Go get your dope. Go get. Man, I can't express this enough to kids going out there or young shooters. Like, get out there, shoot, but report what you're doing. I wish someone would have told me this when I started shooting. Like, go out, set up 6 targets, or run through the targets. Don't just like shoot at them and then don't go look at the report. No, get done. Put your rifle down. Go look at your target. See where you were hitting. See what you're doing. Test your limits. How fast you can go. Write this stuff down. Like, hey, like today I went this speed, shot this many rounds, had X amount of success, and just do that, and you'll see how much you'll grow as a shooter. Like it's gonna take you to new levels.
Man, I got into shooting. Well, I got into shooting because Clay and Rachel bullied me into going to a competition.
Oh, competing. you
I'm
mean.
sorry, competing.
Competing,
I got into competitive shooting because Clay and Rachel bullied me into doing it.
You got into shooting
which,
because I got
thanks
you a
y'all
Red
for
Ryder
doing
BB
that,
gun
'cause-
when you were 6 years old.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then an AK at 14, and the handguns, and now all this. But no, competition. I got into competition because Clay and Rachel bullied me into doing it. But once I started doing it, I've been shooting as basically the company's sponsored shooter at local matches. With me being the marketing guy,
Yeah, represent.
but with me being the marketing guy, the primary function for me has been as an excuse to like interact with the community.
Right.
But also I use it as a content farm. Like I go out there and I film and I take pictures and whatnot. But going back over the footage, because now every time I go out and shoot, I've got cameras rolling.
Right.
Right. And it was initially for content creation purposes for the business. But now I go back and I look through all that footage, and I've got GoPros on my guns when I'm running stages. I've got a cameraman running behind me, and it's great to be able to go back and see, hey, stage 3 at this one competition, I fumbled this reload. Why did I do that?
Right.
Now I go back and I watch it in 4K slow-mo and watch my mistakes over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I can learn from it. And
Yep.
man, it's helped me improve quickly.
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're putting your skills to the test.
Yeah, totally. I still haven't had a chance to go over the footage from Kalash Bash yet,
Right.
but man, I am looking forward to diving into that.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's I encourage everybody that owns a firearm to at least try competitive shooting once.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is so much lower than most people think.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
Like one of the matches that I shoot is Jim Morris's match. Texas Kalashnikov happens here just north of Austin once a month.
Right.
And the barrier to entry to that match is you show up with a rifle, 150 rounds of ammo, and $35 cash.
Competition shooting is going to take our Second Amendment from being just this thing that's a Second Amendment on a document where it's like you can't infringe on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the next level of like, this is a sport and entertainment.
Mm-hmm. It will
And-
bring it back to being a part of the culture in a way that it hasn't been in a very long
Yeah,
time.
in a long time, yeah.
It'll be look like I said, like a sports,
Yes.
like entertainment, where it's like, we talked about this. Imagine if someone was out there at Kalash Bash with their little backpack connected to Starlink,
Mm-hmm.
live feeding everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you ever watched like Kyle Litzy, Zach Smith shoot a stage, like the guys from Unrivaled, or even like Josh Frolich that got second place.
Mm-hmm.
or even like a AJ Anthony, the guy that came here last year.
Yeah,
with me,
yeah.
right?
I watched him run a stage, and it was impressive.
Isn't that fun to watch?
Yeah. No, it's a blast.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like watching like a drag race like of two horses, you know, like
Yeah.
a drag like. But now you're watching it with humans, like drag race guns.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
So that's interesting. It seems like there's an opportunity there for someone to create like the wide world of sports of
exactly.
competitive shooting.
And once you do that, and you bring this to like the mainstream, like kind of entertainment of stuff, like dude, like you know, forget about guns being banned. That would never happen. You know, like think about like out here in Texas, you guys have like what college shooting teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Not a whole lot, but I mean, yeah, like Texas A&M, for example, like they've got a collegiate rifle team that goes and competes, and they are good.
right. So like March Madness for basketball.
Yeah.
Imagine like a March Madness for like shooting
Yeah. It'd be
between
great.
colleges.
It'd be great.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be.
Imagine like like diehard Alabama fans, football, all that's Ohio State like
The
diehard fans.
Texas Oklahoma rivalry.
Now,
So
think about that like in a rifle match.
Yeah.
How cool would that be? Like just cheering on like your favorite college or a college you attended or like even like a high school like that you went to, and like they have like their own shooting squad. Like that'd be cool. That'd be super fun.
So we're kind of coming towards the end of the podcast here, but we're already kind of touching upon my final question. So I will pose this question and leave you with this. Where do you think is the future of competitive shooting in the AK space? What's next? What do you want to see?
What do I want to see?
Yeah.
Is kind of just like what I've expressed. Just more smaller matches across the nation, and then hopefully we could establish another like 2 to 3 bigger ones throughout the year.
Okay.
So would that be like a feeder pipeline to the big show?
There you go. Yeah.
Baseball
like,
does that, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, Formula 3 and Formula 1.
right.
Yeah.
And then
Formula 4, 3, 2, and then 1. Yeah.
and then that's kind of like what I would want it to stay and be healthy.
Yeah.
Like you hear about all these like 3-gun matches that have been around for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, we're on what, year 6 for Kalash Bash? Like,
Yeah.
let's get it to 20. Let's get it to 30.
Yeah.
That's kind of what like the future that I would want to see, because if there's a Kalash Bash in 20 and 30 years, guess what's also around for 20 and 30 years?
Yeah.
Myself and SOF Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Us
right.
at TWS.
And your gun
Yeah,
rights.
And
Yeah.
and your gun rights, exactly.
Yeah.
So like it goes all hand in hand together. Second Amendment, competition shooting. These platforms. Not only that, think about the innovation that you guys are gonna have 20 to 30 years from now.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be cool.
It's going to be something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
But you don't have to wait that long. Wait till next year. Wait till later this year.
Right. See, like that
Coming
just gets,
soon. Stay tuned.
that just gets me excited. You see? Like, and there's an idea that you're gonna have that you haven't had yet.
Yeah.
That's gonna be innovative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is cool to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna build some super cool AK at one point that I don't know I'm gonna build yet, but that's also exciting to think about.
It is. It is.
So
Sweet.
yeah.
Well, that's a wrap. Thank you all for joining us on this first inaugural episode of the Texas Weapon Systems podcast.
It was a lot of fun. It's always fun. hanging out
Mario,
with you guys.
1,000 thanks for you
Yeah.
No,
coming
thank
out
you
and
guys.
joining us, shooting with us during this Kalash Bash and joining us here
Yeah.
today.
It was an honor to be there.
A pleasure to have you.
As long as you guys want me, I'll be there.
All right. You'll be back.
Yeah, all
Wonderful.
Right, cool.
Be sure to check in again soon. We've got more exciting episodes, interviews, and guests coming up in the very near future. Wonderful.
Thanks all.
Thank you.